gauge the crowd and what people were here for and what they wanted to get. But since we have a rent-a-crowd, I don't know what people really want to get. But are there any current entrepreneurs here? Oh, lovely. And just considering, the shaking the hand is maybe, yeah. So I think that helps, because that's what I want to talk about. Being an entrepreneur, it's a test, and I want to get into how I feel like we can pass the test. So maybe a few months ago, Hadrian asked me to be one of the speakers, and it reminded me of Puebla. There was maybe a success workshop, I think what was called. And I sat in that workshop in awe of our brothers and sisters and what they had accomplished, and I was honored to be asked to do this. You know, what an honor. It must mean I've come somewhere in the past 4 years. At that time, 4 years ago in Puebla, my company had yet to turn a profit. 4 years later, we're going to do $5 million in revenue this year, and $10 million next year. If you're the bank, that's what I tell you. I did last night on a phone call, because you get more money if you tell them you're going to make more. And this is part of the gig. Is you kind of, I hate the line, but you fake it until you make it. But behind there's actually a substance, a receiving that you follow. But what my company is, right? So what did I decide to do? Can we get the projector to work? So here is the running version, cycling version. It changes colors. It is very innovative. We had patents on it. Multicolor. There's visual science behind having multicolor. When you're out at night, your eyes are adjusting to the darkness, and so it depends on if you're looking at your cell phone and then you look up at the road when you're driving, what color your eye sees and is more sensitive to. So we have a unique flashing pattern. This is funny. So we did some professional photography and videography, and one bit of business advice is if you're trying to run advertising these days, professional videos are the worst you can show people, because people are so used to tuning those out. You actually want to show videos that are more organic, like someone shot it on their cell phone of somebody. So we don't actually use these videos much anymore in advertising or photographs. We use what our customers organically generate, and then we show that to other people. All right, how about the pet product? So why I decided to start the company, I was doing very well at an aerospace firm, and this talk that I read of Bok had kind of been, the seed had been planted in my head. And that's always, well, there's so many talks and there's always so many themes, but it's about testing yourself. Over the years, I learned that one of the important things that we do in Subud, or in this life, is to test ourselves. Not necessarily go in and test the traditional people want to test about what to do with your life, what to do, to really test about how the Latihan has moved you, what are my limits, what are my capabilities. Bok would talk about during Ramadan, it would be very hot and he would go on these long walks, things that people think, you know, I can't do if I'm fasting. I need water, it's really hot out. No, God will give you immense strength, something beyond what you thought was possible. This is true all through college. I pushed myself to extremes, and where I thought my limit was, it was so much higher. I'm a runner, and when I went and did my first race, I had no idea what my limit was. And over time, I find myself getting to this point in a race and thinking, can I go faster? Can I go harder? And I hear that voice that says, no, you need to stop. This is all you have. And you get to this point so often. And this is the point, it's very important. I talk about this a lot in this talk. That's the pivotal moment between success and failure. Because at that moment, if you are honest to yourself, you'll find out that you have more capability than you thought. And almost every time when I get to that point during a race, I say, I've been here before. I know this. You feel like you've given everything. And something else takes over. And your threshold is, your limits are actually much further, and you go much farther. You win, you succeed. And I find this in business all the time. So I think there's this theme, and that is to be successful is actually so simple. You get to this point 100 times when you're running a business that you think there is no going forwards. This is impossible. Everyone else is so much better than I am. That is the best point you could ever reach in running a business, because that is the test that God has put in front of you. And that's your opportunity to pass or fail. And my experience is that every time you get there, you have to just continue to go on. Don't worry about the right path, the right direction. God will continually guide you as long as you keep going forwards. As long as you continue to go on. If you stop at that moment and fall back, it doesn't work. So there was a theme Adrian gave me for this talk. We wanted to talk about these 4 words that Ibu talked about yesterday. Let's see if I can slaughter them. The Zat, Sifat, Asma, and Afal. So these 4 words Adrian asked for this talk, hey, work these into your presentation. And I thought, no, that's not my story, man. I don't want to work this into, that's not the theme of my talk. That's not my life. Forget that. So, sorry, Adrian, that's what I thought. So I walk around with my wife, Sarah, when I first got here, and there's this poster. It's right back here with, I bump into it. And I also thought, I don't want to look these 4 words up. Yeah, I'm not gonna find them. And we bump into this poster, and I read the 4 words. And oh my God, that's exactly that's my story. Papa knew his stuff when he spelled this out. And then I think, well, that is my story. The effort, the asma, that is truly, it's so simple, everybody. That's what I think to myself. It's so simple. And yesterday, when Ibu was really on a roll, you guys remember that? She's talking, and I start thinking about my story and what I might talk about here, and how to incorporate these 4 words. And then, Sharif, 9 hours later starts a translation, and look, it's what I was thinking about at that moment. And I'm thinking, well, now what am I going to talk about? Because Ibu's way of describing it is so true, and it's how we are, right? Because Papak has described this, Ibu's described it, and I'm describing it, and it's all just, we need to keep saying it over and over, so we can be reminded. But so I'm like, what can I contribute now to this talk? The thing I think I can contribute, because it seems so simple, but when you put it into action, the tricky part is the asma, putting it into effort, putting the effort and doing the work. So how can you, what bit of advice can I give? Well, going back to testing my abilities. This had proved to be beneficial, because to me, to have done this over and over and to get to that point in my life where I reach a limit and I think, actually, I've been here, I can exceed this limit, even though it seems like a wall that I can't get through. To have done that over and over it prepared me so much for the work of growing this company from the ground up. Because I truly believe, and find this to be one of God's graces, is that God has put everything worth having in this world on the other side of something very difficult and something very hard. And so when I get there, I'm thankful. When a lot of people maybe are feeling defeated, what can I tell you? And that is, again, to be so thankful when you're at this moment. And I'm blessed to know that I guess I can get through that. Maybe my journey is a little bit simpler than others because I can't compare myself to other people who have larger struggles. But I do look in Subud, brothers and sisters, and I think, wow, when I see and meet each and every one of you, you have abilities that I could never find in myself. And look, 4 years, I've got a $5 million company, and we're growing. I feel like there's so much untapped potential out there by doing the asma, the effort, by doing the work. So I'm sitting in this successful company before I started my Nox Gear company. By the way, Nox is Latin for nocturnal or the god of the night. We tried to be clever and come up with that. It's important that you start a company and you can get the .com for it too, so that goes hand in hand with starting a company. So I'm in this Fortune 500 company. I'm feeling very comfortable. I'm making a great living. The president of the company says, you're on a straight track to take over when I leave. Multi-billion-dollar company. And it sets in that I'm comfortable and that this is not who I am. I don't like to be comfortable. There's nothing good that comes on the other end of that comfort. Emmanuel, you're going to go blind if you sit in that sun much longer. It might hurt. So I think I need to get out of this comfort zone. And I have this person who is at the same company as me, and this has all been worked out in advance, I think. He's come along. He's interested in starting a company, and he meets this girl back in Ohio, where I'm from, 500 miles away, and he says, I want to leave the company and go back and be with her. I said, great, if you do that, let's start a company. I can persuade him very easily too, which was good because he became my business partner. So he left, I followed shortly after, and we launched this company. And when you start a company, it is extremely depressing at times. You don't have any money. You are, the morale is very low. You feel like you are nobody in the universe. And this is the opposite of what you see when you see successful people. You think, I'm not like this person, and that part of quick gratification is not being met. So you feel like you need to give up at that moment. And again, this is that key moment that God puts in front of us where we're being tested. You know, you have this opportunity to succeed when you feel like there's no opportunity to succeed by just going on. So my business partner, he doesn't have the Latihan. And we meet, you know, every day we meet, and it's a grind. It's such a grind. He's very low and very depressed. And looking back on that now, I wonder, wow, every day I had to talk to him and make him feel like, let's keep going on. You know, let's go on. And how did I do that? You know, what was I hanging on to? Because I felt very positive. Well, I did test one thing before starting my company and leaving. And I've only tested about work once, and it was this one time. And it was just, how would it be if I did this? And the receiving was really good, right? It's very simple. It was great. I should do this. And so that's all I needed. During my business, that's all I needed. I knew that God, no matter what my efforts were, the hundreds of mistakes I was making and would continue to make. And if you look up Popok's talks on this, he says, yeah, you know you're doing well when you're making mistakes. That means you're doing, and you're going to, God will guide that. No one has ever been successful without making mistakes. So all the while we're making mistakes, my business partner is feeling very defeated by these mistakes. And I'm growing in confidence because I know that there's this feeling behind it that I got in my receiving. And I found myself giving him pep talks every day. And I don't know what that would be like without the Latihan. You know, this gift that we have. I don't know what it would be like to be in his shoes without that guidance. And we were business people. We were engineers. We had both had masters in different engineering disciplines. So, so how did we gain this business experience? Popok talks about that too. You know, we get this business experience by doing something and getting an understanding from it, we get all the experience can be provided, all the understanding can be provided, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. It's not perfect at first, but you can get a really good understanding. You don't need to be an expert in business. You don't need a title or a degree. You can really get this knowledge, and it's because you know what's necessary and what's not necessary. As you develop in the Latihan, I've noticed for me that there is constantly an indication that this is right and this is wrong. It's so simple in my daily life. Whether I follow that or not, that's another thing, right? You know, whether you do what you feel is right or not. So there's this time my business partner and I were planning our manufacturing. How are we going to accomplish making all of this stuff for everybody? And we're sitting at a table scratching it out, and this plan was going to take us a month to scratch out. And inside said, no, this is not important. And I took only a few seconds to say, stop, we don't need to do this. And he looked at me, you know, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Well, a few months go by, we never did it. It was never necessary. And you could tell he gained a new respect for this indication that I was receiving. Later on, he tries that. And again, through the Latihan, I see that he's doing it just to mimic me. He's trying to do something. There's a big business decision we have to make, and he says, I don't think we have to worry about that. And inside I go, no, that's wrong. That's wrong, it's gonna hurt. But okay, I'll let this play out. It was hard on the business. That decision wasn't good. We had to go back and pay money and solve it. He learned then that he can't fake it. You know, it's a natural thing, you feel it on the inside. So that's two stories of me being right, you know, like, that's great, but it's not always that good. I'm not always right. You know, I can't always see what's right and follow that. Just coming to this Congress, for example, a lot was happening for my business, and in order to spend a month on what became a honeymoon on the way, a month of vacation, I felt like I had to do 2 months worth of work. And I'm starting to do this project to come, and I get this indication inside, nope, you don't need to be doing it, and I ignore it. You don't do that. You don't ignore that receiving, that indication. And so that whole time for 5 or 6 days, I was in a bad way because I was continually ignoring this simple indication inside that you're frantic, this work will not amount to anything. And it didn't, just as I had received. It wasn't right. I didn't have the right equipment to do the work I was doing, and I forced it. So it's a simple process, right? We just have to follow that inner receiving. But again, mistake. The business doesn't fail. The business doesn't fall apart. Every time, God will find a way. God provides a way. This is at first you maybe just need to tell yourself that. But then I get so many examples of that with my company. I'll tell you another story. So my product, you know, it's a seasonal product. It needs to be dark out for people to use this, and it's only dark in your fall and winter because the days are shorter. So it's a very seasonal product, and that in the Northern Hemisphere is accentuated by the holiday shopping season. So we do about 90% of our business around the holidays, December, a little bit in November, December. So what's that mean? It means you have to be ready to sell to people when they're ready to buy. So 2 years ago, we're on track to do a little over $2 million in sales by our projections. And so we didn't plan our inventory right, and our factory that we're kind of partners with, a couple other buddies, they're late. Everything's running behind. Stress is mounting. It's November now, and we have about a little over $1 million worth of inventory that we need to get in to make the special holiday shopping season. Amazon is huge in the United States, and Amazon says you have 4 more days to get your inventory into our warehouse system in order for you to be successful and sell that inventory, make it available to the public for the holiday season. So we have 4 days, 4 more days, and we have about 10,000 units, which is about a 747's worth of inventory that we need to move in the United States. And it's done with 4 days left. We pretty much rent the 747. We fly it over. I'm watching it every day. Every morning I wake up and I check it. It's gone. It's lost, right? So that was hard. I felt like this is the end. This is the end. I go down, do Lottie Honda in my basement. I get this receiving. God will provide. With God, anything is possible. And it wasn't words at that point. I was receiving it, and I was very calm. Well, that ended up being true in that the next day, the shipment was already being received into Amazon. It was found. Everything was great. I had no reason to panic, although it was magic. It should not have been found. Little did I know that was the least of our problems, because I was ignoring something that we should never do, right? And inside there was this other receiving that I was being told, you need to check that inventory, make sure it's okay before you rush it in. And I had been sitting around for a month and I hadn't checked this sample of all this inventory. And that moment, the same day, I say, Sarah, let's go check this. We open it up. Something's unusual about this. This is a sample of the large shipment that was just received in, that I felt so rushed to get in, so relieved that it was in, and now I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, these could all be bad. All is lost again. So now I'm afraid all is lost. Continually are we being tested, right? Continually are we being tested, because we find a way. So we look at these units, they have a defect, we wonder what does this really mean? Are we going to be able to sell $1 million, or is everyone going to come back to us and say, I bought this, it's bad, fix it? So again, this time I go for a run. It's nighttime. I finally use my product, which I never use. I go for a run, and I'm running at night, and I see the reflection of the product in a car window, and I think, this is a cool product. I've got a good company. I come back around, running home, and I get this receiving, just straight up. I look up, God will provide again. And we just make this call, let's pull all the units out. And we do, pull all the units out of inventory. Half of them sell, no problems. The other half come back, we sit there and we fix every single one of them. We sell them again, no problems. Everything worked out when there seemed to be no way. And I'll finish with this last analogy I think that has come to me. My wife and I got open 2 days ago. Sarah, yeah. We were on our honeymoon in Iceland 2 weeks ago, and in Iceland you can just go climb any mountain. You don't have to worry about thunder and lightning, you don't have to worry about snakes or bears. So we just go, we worry about bears, I worry about lightning. We just start climbing this beautiful mountain, and we don't really know the path. The path that they map out just goes and stops, and it splits into 1,000 sheep paths. And you keep walking up, and you think, is this the right way to the summit? And you reach another sheep path, and there's 5 of them. They go each different way. And I was thinking about this analogy of running a business, and this is so true. We got to those sheep paths, and we just took whichever one. And sometimes that path would go down, and we had to go up here. But 5 minutes later, we were up a little bit higher. Sometimes we'd have to go another path, and we'd climb over rocks. Might not have been the easiest path to take. We didn't know. We just kept going. And we did get to the top of that mountain. But had we stayed back at each junction of those paths and thought and tested, you know, which way should I go? We'd be down, way down that mountain. We wouldn't have made it anywhere. But I found in my business that you just keep going, and you'll make it to the top of the mountain. And then on the way down, Sarah asks me, do you know how to get down from here? And I say, yeah, no problem, we're going. And I get completely lost. I just bolt down the mountain, and Sarah saves me and says, no, I think it's this way. But the analogy works going up the mountain. That's the point.
You want a testimonial?
Ralph?
Testimonial?
Sure.
My wife and I take...
Adrian's got a mic.
My wife Miriam and I take a walk every single day, God willing, except here, of course. And when it gets dark in the wintertime, it's a problem because we live in a small neighborhood where there are no sidewalks and the street lights are few and far between. A couple of years ago, I guess when you got started, my daughter gave us your tracer, I guess it is?
Yeah, yeah.
And we've been wearing it ever since. And you know, it keeps us from getting run over, which you can't be seen otherwise. You totally can't be seen. So, thanks.
Thanks. I remember shipping those to you actually, and there's a funny story that, again, I can't stress enough with shame in my heart that I don't feel passionate about these products, and maybe I won't about anything that I really make, just because I don't like to feel like I've made something great. But I don't really feel passionate about these. But at a Subud Congress 3 years ago, there was a Subud member who was in crisis, really a bit disconnected, and it was still our early years. We weren't turning very much of a profit, and she's wandering around and then bumps into me, and I think, oh my God, okay. And she stops, and I didn't know she knew anything about my business, and she said, "Remember, you're saving lives." I was like, oh my God, I forgot. You know, it's not just a business. This little business that I created, this product, it's saving lives. You know, so maybe God has been using me to do that, and I'm very thankful. And that Subud member in crisis was actually plugged in, tuned in.
I've also got a testimonial. In fact, before the product came out, we were talking about some of the technical aspects which interested me because it had to do with fiber optics. But anyway, Devana and I bought this product before we moved to where we live at the moment. We moved 3.5 years ago to an area which is unincorporated Ventura County in California. There are no street lights and no sidewalks. And we use them every single night because we walk every night. But the interesting thing to me, and this is a missed opportunity for you, Simon, we get stopped quite frequently. People will draw their car up alongside and say, "What are these? Where can we get them?" We give them the pitch that we know they're not going to remember Noxcare because it's kind of unrememberable in a way. So I wish we had a little card that we could hand them with the word Noxcare and your website or something, because we probably would have given out 40, 50 of them by now.
Thanks, Hannafy. You're dead on about that.
Are they available through Amazon UK?
Sarah, do you know? We have a distributor in Europe, and I think they're the season, when it starts in September, they will be available in Amazon UK. You know, our season right now, the long days, they're not available. Yeah, you can Google it. You'll definitely see it on Amazon UK. Whether it's available, I don't know.
Thanks. We have to move along a little bit. We have to move along a little bit.
Just very quickly, new products on the horizon, new applications, growing, expanding, greater creativity. What?
Yeah, we've got a new product that I was going to show here. It's in my bag. It's something I'm actually passionate about, and nobody really gets it, and that's why it's probably going to be great. What we're missing anywhere in the world is a small, extremely small, portable Bluetooth speaker that runners can wear. People can wear all on them all the time. It'll connect to a phone. They can have conversations. It's very light. It has extremely long battery life and extremely loud. It's great sound. It's just this little niche that no one actually sees as necessary. It sounds great.
Noxcare Kick activated.
If we actually had it running, you could probably hear it from the back. She's gonna try. We'll see. What if it's a big failure, Sarah, and everyone's like, "Oh, Simon, we were gonna invest, but no, that won't happen." So, It's got other unique things. There's a magnetic clip which you can put it on your shirt anywhere. You can actually attach it to like a regular clip. 2 years in the making. It's been extremely hard to make this. This is why it does not exist anywhere in the world, because it's been really hard. And it'll be done in 2 months. We're finally in final tooling stages, so I'm excited about this baby.
What's it going to sell for?
This will be the same price. Everything will be about $60. Yeah. Oh, Susanna.
Susanna, last one.
It's called the Kick.
Last one, Susanna.
Kick?
Great.
Can anyone hear that?
Yeah.
It's just a guitar. How about this?
It's hard for me to see when
I mean, if you can hear that, that's good in a loud auditorium.
Great.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Simon, why is this one you're passionate about and the other one you're not?
Because I'll use it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good question.
is that it?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. And I see that the market is much bigger for something like this.
Okay, because so then part of the thing is scale. You see that this would.
Oh yeah, and actually we're going to be making all of these in the United States very quickly by hand, family members. We've designed it to be manufacturable very simply, so it's exciting to see that happen too.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, Gregory, you are it. You're the last question.
Thanks, Simon, for that presentation.
Oh, yeah.
Have you thought of industrial applications for that, for high-vis vests?
Yeah, the two answers to that. One, we can never make enough inventory to sell on large scales.
Okay.
Cash being a problem. And the other reason is you need all kinds of certifications and things to go in commercial,
Okay.
and we try to avoid that hard
Okay.
stuff.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much.